Welcome. My name is Larissa Redmond Thompson, and I am the founder and executive director of the Collegiate Life Investment Foundation. I am happy that we're joining together, even though it's virtual, for our distracted driving class for the Collierville court system. Unfortunately, I would love to be there with you in person, but this will have to do for now because of the pandemic protocols. So we're going to get started right now with our video presentation, and I know you can't ask me questions directly in person, but feel free at the end of this video. You'll be able to ask us questions, any questions that you have about any of the information we provided, and we'll provide you with some ways to contact us at the end. The name of our class here is No Tech Zone, and it was originally set for teen drivers, but over the years here at Collierville, I think it's 4 years now, we have expanded that program so some of our adult offenders could take a part, learn, and then use that as a way to eliminate some of the extra expenses from their tickets. And so right off the bat, I want you guys to take a look at this video. We happen to partner with the Tennessee Highway Safety Office and Princeton James Productions, and we partner with them to do a short video about the effects of distracted driving and what it can do in just an instant. So take a look.
What, son? Boy, don't tell me you hungry again, huh? You hungry again? Already? You hungry again, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, what do you want? And don't say eggs and toast. That's all you ever eat. You're gonna turn into an egg. Son, wake up. You're gonna be late for summer camp. All right, Junior, here you go. Hold on 1 second, let me grab something to drink and get a fork. So, son, but you're not gonna eat your breakfast again? Okay. Well, fine. If you don't want to talk to me, I'll talk to you. Look, I wrote down a list of things that I feel like it's very important that we should talk about. You know, with everything that's been going on, I feel like that's exactly what might bring light to the situation. Son, I just want you to know that I love you. And just know I will never do anything else to jeopardize our situation. You know you're my priority, don't you? Oh man, this silent treatment is killing me. Being a parent is not easy. But just trust I'm doing everything I can. Look, I love you, but then that day
Hey, got everything we need for dinner, but I ran into little Jessica at the store again, stealing again. And I asked her, I said, why do you think you can get away with that? I don't. Mom.
I don't want to hear it.
Mom has been worried about you ever since the car
Listen.
wreck.
Have you ever been in my shoes? Have you?
I'm affected too. He was my nephew. You think I don't have tough shoes? But you getting up like this every morning is not gonna fix it. I mean, you don't even talk to us anymore.
Talk. I had a chance to talk. But all I did was work and text every day. My son never ignored me. And he didn't deserve to be ignored. So if this is how I choose to deal with it, then so be it. There you have it. I got it out. Are you happy? This is how I deal with it. Trust me, I've explored other options. None of them worked. Now, if you'll excuse us, my son has to finish getting dressed. Now finish eating your food and go into your room and finish putting your clothes on. secure, son. And I promise this time, I'm not leaving.
So I know many of you are in your living rooms or on your phones, but not in your car, right? And so I want you just to raise your hand. I know it might not be anybody there with you, but join in with me. If you interact with me and I interact with you, even virtually, this will go by quickly, right? So let me know by raising your hands, or just look at yourself in the mirror. Sometimes you talk on the phone while you drive. Okay. How many of you sometimes text while you drive? Don't be shy. Okay. Look at the man in the mirror. All right. How many of you talk or text while you are in the car with others? Yes. Okay. For my teens, how many of you see your parents or adults you're in the car with texting or talking while they drive? Okay. And how many of you at a red light, if you're a driver, think it's okay to text or talk on the phone while you're at a red light or a stop sign? And last but not least, whether you're at work, whether you're at school, whether you're just chilling at home, whether you're in virtual classes, how many of you expect to receive a text message immediately, like within 5 minutes, whether you're doing anything? Okay? Listen, let me just tell you, you are not alone. Just know that you are not alone, okay? 43% of teens admit to texting while driving. 73% of teens look at their phone while at a red light. 51% of teens admit to talking on the cell phone while driving. 49% of adult drivers admit to texting while driving. 77% see their parents text and drive. We should have put the parents on this this training, I assume, right? And then 89% of people expect to receive a response within 5 minutes, whether at work, at home, driving, or whatever. So if you look at these statistics provided by AAA Foundation, none of you are alone. Those people who were at home raising their hands along with the video, there are other people too. There are other people who are watching who don't like to admit in person, which is what this study is saying. You know, these are people who admitted to texting while driving, but there are a lot of people who don't admit. So know that first, you're not alone, and this is a problem, an issue that we all have to work together to face. So for those of you who are at home, think about in your mind, what exactly is distracted driving? Distracted driving is driving while engaged in any activity that could divert a person's attention from the primary task of driving, right? So that can be anything. That can be texting while driving, which is the most dangerous distracted driving. We'll talk about why later, but it can be talking on the phone. It can be putting on makeup. It can be messing with the kids in the back seat or looking for something in your armrest. There are so many distractions on our highways, right? Even think about, here in Shelby County, we have a lot of food eateries and we love to eat, right? We love good barbecue. We love good wings. And so I see people all the time eating those things while they're driving. Well, food can be a big distraction as it relates to distracted driving. Okay. And so now I want to talk about the 3 types of distractions. So you have the visual distraction, which is obviously doing anything while driving that takes your eyes off the roadways, right? And then you have a manual distraction, which is doing something that requires the driver to take their hands off the steering wheel. I know when I was coming through driver's ed, we had to keep our hands at 10 and 2, which now I think that has changed. But the thought is that you must keep your hands on the steering wheel. You cannot control the car, and any type of distraction that prevents you from doing so is a manual distraction. And then we also have finally that mental distraction, that cognitive distraction. You'll hear me talk about that a lot throughout this presentation. That cognitive distraction is thinking hard about anything other than the primary task of driving. So, when you're in the car and all of a sudden you're at your location, right? That's because your mind was not focused on driving, but it was focused on something else. And our big issue with texting and driving is the problem that it involves all three, right? Your eyes are on the device, your hands are on the device texting or doing whatever you're typing, and then your mind is on whatever you're sending or doing. And that is why texting and driving can be so dangerous. It involves all three types of distractions.
So the Super Bowl just passed. Who loves football? We're in the South. Everybody should love football. I'm a Steelers fan myself, and I love me some Tennessee Vols football. Go Vols, okay? But think about how many yards are on a football field. You have 100 from end to end zone. You have 100 yards. Think about if you're driving 55 miles per hour, because we all drive the speed limit, right? Driving 55 miles per hour, how long do you think it would take you to get from one end zone to the next? I want you to take a moment and think about it.
Did you take a moment to think about it? Well, if you don't know, it takes you about 4 to 5 seconds to drive the length of a football field. Taking your eyes off the road for that 4 or 5 seconds to pick up your phone and send a text is equivalent to you driving that football field blind. That's crazy, right?
Those 5 seconds could have cost someone their life. Think about it. When I asked you to think about whether you drive the speed limit, we all obviously go over, right? I know here in Shelby County, it seems taboo almost to drive 55 miles per hour on the expressway. But just think if you're going 70 or 85 miles per hour, how many people, how many things, how many tires on the side of the road you could have passed or not seen for that 5 seconds you're looking down at the phone, right? And let's be honest, when we're looking down at our phones, it takes more than 5 seconds. You gotta look, you have to find the contact, you gotta send the text, you gotta put the phone down, you gotta check your messages, right? All of those things take longer than 5 minutes. What or who could you have hit in those 5 seconds? I want you to think about that the next time you pick up a phone.
Did you know in the U.S., car crashes are the #1 killer of teens in America? That's over murder, suicide, death, injury combined. Car crashes are killing more of our American teens than anything else. Here in the state of Tennessee, we have to do a better job at addressing some of these statistics. Just to give you a little insight, Tennessee is #1 for distracted driving since 2019. Okay, we are number 10 for traffic fatalities, number 6 for traffic deaths per mile, and the stats keep getting worse and worse. We have to do our part as teen and adult Tennessee drivers to make our Tennessee roadways a better place. Even here in Shelby County, we had in 2020 over 7,000 distracted driving cases. And although the number here on the screen shows you 120 distracted driving related fatalities in 2017, each year since then, that number has significantly gone up. Whether it says 120, or 140, each life here in Tennessee and across America matters, and it shouldn't be taken because of something as simple as a cell phone and distracted driving. So I am sure you're sitting there wondering, why is this lady talking to us about distracted driving? I know that the Collierville court system uses it as a way to help you get over some of your traffic offenses, but that doesn't explain why I, Larissa Thompson, is here, right? And so I want you to meet Clifton Gibbs. Clifton was a kind-hearted soul, and he was very special to me and his family and friends. He was an athlete. He played tennis at Christian Brothers University all 4 years. Obviously, he was a college graduate. He graduated from Christian Brothers University in May of 2011 with a degree in business marketing. He was a friend to everyone he met. Clifton did not meet a stranger ever. So, that meant long talks in the grocery store. And then at that time, Clifton was my my college love. And on February the 1st, this happened. Clifton was driving in his far right lane headed towards the city on Highway 61, which is 3rd Street in Memphis, Tennessee. And the young lady who caused the crash was in her far right lane going towards Tunica. And she crossed 5 lanes of traffic going 76 miles per hour in a 45 and hit Clifton's car head on. At that time, that turned his car around, and a daycare bus hit his car again head on full speed, and this car crash was the result. The young lady who caused the crash was texting on her phone and speeding, and the guy who was driving the daycare bus was also distracted. He was talking on a handheld phone, and Clifton was airlifted to the Med, which is Regional 1 now, but it was the Med at that time, and he was kept on life support for 2 days, and Clifton didn't make it.
So can you imagine being 23 years old and your life taken in an instant, just like Clifton? Can you imagine every holiday, every birthday, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, that his family is all that they have left? I know that you think you're invisible from our teens, and even sometimes from our adults. We don't think about the day-to-day happenings as we're going through the flow of life. But if nothing the pandemic has taught us is that life is too short. And so we have to do everything we can to protect ourselves. In the pandemic, that means wearing a mask. While we're on the highway, that means putting down your phone so that you won't end up like Clifton and some of the other faces I'll show you later as a result of distracted driving.
Clifton is not the only victim of distracted driving. He's personable to me and why I do this and to us here in Tennessee. But there are people all over the country who have really been impacted by distracted driving. And so I want you to meet Casey. Okay, Casey was a junior journalism major. Her parents are Diane and Joel Feldman, and they've started the NDD.org organization. And Casey was walking to class, doing what she was supposed to do in the crosswalk, and all of a sudden, boom, right? A black SUV comes and hits her and keeps going. He doesn't stop. And you might be thinking, like, why would someone not stop and they know they hit a person, right? And so that wasn't the case in Casey's case. The gentleman who caused the crash, who hit Casey, got home and saw her blood and some of her blonde hair in his grill. And that's when he realized he had hit an individual. He thought he ran over a speed bump. Okay? Get that through your head. Don't judge the guy here who hit Casey, because there are so many times you've been driving on the road where you hit something or ran over something and you had no clue what it was, but you just thought, oh, it was a tire, oh, it's a speed bump, it might be the curb, something on the street, and you're so engulfed in your text message, you don't know what's going on around you, okay? I also want you to meet Nina and her sons, and Malik and Alex, and they were coming home from Thanksgiving and on a 2-way highway, and the last thing Nina saw was the light from the phone of the guy opposite her. And so she flipped over, they hit her, flipped over the rail, and that was the last time she saw her 2 boys, 4 and 6. They were in their car seats, they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and Nina didn't even get to bury her children. She was still in the hospital in a coma for a while, and when she woke up, her children were gone. Okay. That is a harsh reality of what distracted driving can do to a family. I also want you to meet Heather. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever been to Disney. I know it's been hard to get to Disney World with the pandemic going on. But if you've ever been to Disney traveling from the Maryland, Baltimore, DMV area, you will eventually get to a point where it's called the Heather Heard Highway. And Disney commissioned this highway in honor of Heather. Her parents are good friends of mine, and Heather was on her way for her last
bridal rehearsal. She was getting married at Disney World. She loved Disney, and she was getting married at Disney World the next week. And so she was headed there for her last rehearsal, and she never made it. Okay. Her father, her mother, her fiance were there waiting, and hours went by, and Heather never made it. The guy who hit Heather was texting on his phone and hit her head on, and she never made it to her wedding. Okay. And so that is just the story of some of the people. I could give you stories to last you for hours and hours on people where distracted driving has truly impacted their life, where their family members are no longer here to share in the joys and the pains of life. And so I want you to think about these people. I want you to think about Clifton and Casey and Nina and Heather and the thousands of others who've lost their lives to distracted driving every time you pick up a phone. Okay? So I've had an opportunity to introduce you to some victims of distracted driving, and I just want you to know all of those people, I didn't meet them before they passed away, but their family is now my family. I have the permission of all of their parents, some of them sisters and brothers, to show you their stories, because we all are here, unfortunately, joined together by this tragedy of distracted driving. But now I kind of want to flip the script and show you how distracted driving can impact you in other ways. Sometimes you're a victim, but sometimes you cause the crash, right? And so that's the story of Reggie. Reggie is a great friend of mine. I've seen Reggie speak all across the country, and every time he shows compassion and he is sorrowful about the instance he have had. So I want you to take a look at this video about Reggie's story, and then we'll discuss a bit.
911, what's the address of the emergency? It's the highway coming west in the Logan. Hurry, send an ambulance. Is he breathing? They say he's not breathing. Okay, can we start CPR? Hello, this is Mike Harper. I'm an emergency medical technician. We have 21085 Echoes here.
You know, you leave for work every morning. Never, ever do you leave with the intention to hurt someone. When I left that morning, that was definitely not my intention to hurt or harm anyone. And I took 2 lives.
I looked around the room and I saw Jim's license in the hands of one of the police officers. And I just started crying and repeating the word no.
Keith was my whole world. He had his work, and he was so important to his work and his work for him. But for me, he was my whole world.
On the morning of September 22nd, 2006, Reggie Shaw was driving a vehicle on the Valley View Highway. Another car was following him. It was driven by a fellow, Mr. Kaiserman.
The driver of the vehicle ahead of me had seemed to be distracted most of the way over the mountain, had crossed over the center line on more than one occasion. And I do remember on that particular occasion of the accident that as he crossed over the center line, and you do the math in your head and you see the car coming, you think this is not going to be good.
When Reggie's car crossed the center line and clipped this other vehicle, it caused the vehicle to spin out of control. Mr. Kaiserman's truck impacted the Fafaro vehicle. The combined speed of both vehicles would probably be close to 100 miles an hour.
My name is Bart Rinlesbacher. I'm a trooper with the Utah Highway Patrol. I was the investigating officer on the Reggie Shaw crash. I think the average person upon seeing this would be horrified. I know that in my 15 years in law enforcement, I've dealt with this numerous times, and I still rarely sleep at night when I handle a fatality-involved accident.
I was sending and receiving text messages when I drifted across the center line and struck another car. They were both killed on impact.
And I remembered being so shocked that someone could be so selfish and irresponsible and kill my husband.
Driving while texting is very comparable to driving while you're under the influence. And in fact, it's more dangerous in many cases than driving while you're under the influence of alcohol.
So what did you think about Reggie's story? That's a different side, right? Reggie caused the crash, but he only spent 30 days in jail and killed the life of those 2 nuclear scientists. That's crazy, right? Well, now, if Reggie did that, depending on what state he's in, he might get a little more time. And we'll talk about that a little later in the presentation. But right now, I just want you to think about how it would feel if you were in Reggie's position. There's one thing to feel the hurt from losing a victim to distracted driving. I know that hurt more than anyone, but I would never want you to feel like you caused the crash. Reggie has often said it feels like he took a gun, loaded it, and shot those 2 nuclear scientists. Every day he wakes up, all that he does is to try to rectify the situation he put that family in. I want you to think about Reggie's story and think about how it would feel to know that you were responsible for killing 2 people. No, Reggie didn't wake up that morning saying, hey, I'm going to drive my car into their car and I'm going to crash. But Reggie knew that picking up his phone while driving could result in that. And that is what I want you to think about when you're driving distracted.
It's not my job just to come here and tell you about the different victims of distracted driving, whether that's Clifton or Casey or Nina or even Reggie. It's not my job just to tell you their stories, but also as a distracted driver advocate, I'm responsible for educating you on ways that you can eliminate distracted driving in your own life. And so I like to use this method called the ABS method. I got it from Joe Feldman. As you remember, that's Casey's dad, the lovely young lady I showed you earlier with the blonde hair. And so even my teens who I speak to in person when pre-COVID, they might not always remember what ABS is, but when I see them in the grocery store or I happen to see them at their school years after, they'll say, hey, Miss Thompson, I remember the ABS thing, right? And they're like, I've been practicing it. So it has proven to work when you think about it. You might not always remember the ABS, but you will remember the methods behind it. And so first, A is acknowledge the dangerous behavior. And so if you're riding with someone, you can say, I see you're having trouble staying in your lane while texting, right? That puts that driver on notice that, oh, I'm doing something behind the wheel that I shouldn't be doing, right? Then you can voice your feelings. V, voice your feelings. I'm feeling a little nervous when you go in the other lane. I know a lot of the times when we're trying to correct someone, we often have a harsh tone, but it's important when someone's driving behind the wheel that you approach it in a different way, especially for my teens to my adults. I know sometimes adults can be a little bullheaded when it comes to being corrected by their teens, right? Because they've lived longer, they've done enough, and in this case, they've been driving longer. But that doesn't mean that they're doing something correctly. So you can feel free to correct them, but in a respectable manner, okay? And then last but not least, solve the problem by offering a solution, right? It is important that you just don't say, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing wrong, without providing some help, right? My dad always says, don't bring me a problem without a solution. Okay. And so I've taken that and applied it to distracted driving. Why don't you let me text for you? If you're in the car, there's no reason you can't give your phone to the designated texter, right? And this person can text for you. Or if you don't want this person texting for you, you can just simply respond by saying, okay, I'll pull over or I'll text later, right? And so when you're driving, I want you to think of this ABS method. You don't have to always think of acknowledge the dangerous behavior,
force your feelings, solve the problem by offering a solution, but think of it in that order and try to approach correcting drivers while they're in the car with you so that when you're not there, they'll automatically do it on their own. In addition to just thinking about talking and driving as a distraction, let's compare it to how your body reacts when you drink and drive. Impaired driving has been such a huge issue on our roadways, and each year it has gotten better and better. However, because impaired driving has gotten better, it seems that distracted driving has gotten worse. And so studies have shown that talking on your cell phone creates a risk very similar to when your blood alcohol level is 0.08. And so for those of you who know the law, you know just generally 0.08 is the blood alcohol level to which is illegal to have in your system when you drive. And so you're 4 times more likely to get in a crash when your blood alcohol level is 0.08. And when you're talking on your cell phone, you're that same 4 times more likely to get in a crash. So what does that say? That goes right back to that cognitive distraction we've been talking about throughout the whole presentation. If your mind is not focused on driving, your body won't react in the same way. So think about the comparison of impaired driving and distracted driving and try to do better. Let's not drink and drive, and let's not talk and drive either.
So I know we talk a lot about texting and driving, but what about talking and driving? You know, we're able to talk on the phone through our cars, and that is better, right? Hands-free is always better. But think about that cognitive distraction we talked about earlier in the presentation. When you're talking through, let's just think about it like this. How many times have you been driving home the same route or driving to work? You're on the phone with your girlfriends or on the phone with your boo, and you're in this good conversation, and all of a sudden, you're at work, or all of a sudden you're home. You're used to driving this same route, and so your mind might be your eyes might be looking at the road, but your mind is not clocking all of those things along the way. That's the cognitive distraction we're talking about. So when you think about talking on the phone, yes, I want you to really try to work on not texting and driving. That's the first step, right? But once you master that, think about not talking. Definitely not talking handheld devices. Maybe work on hands-free through your car, through your AirPods, through your earphones, Bluetooth capabilities. But think about how your mind is focused somewhere else when you're talking as well.
We've had the opportunity to talk about our moral and ethical obligations behind texting and driving or distracted driving in general. But what does the law say? Okay. And so here in Tennessee, I'm proud to say that we have a new statute as it relates to distracted driving, and our partners in legislation here at the Collegiate Life Investment Foundation, we work with them over the past 5 years to get this law passed. And so it is definitely something that we're very proud of, and we hope that it continues to expand and grow. So the new law in Tennessee, as you see on your screen, is still a Class C misdemeanor. The first violation is a $50 fine, and the third violation has been changed to a $100 fine. If you cause a car crash or accident, it's a $100 fine that's due to distracted driving. And if you're in a school or work zone, it is $200 fine. But the largest and probably the part of the law that I'm most proud of is the points for each violation. If you knew anything about the Tennessee distracted driving or texting law prior to the new law coming into place, we didn't have any points on the insurance for distracted driving violations. And this caused a problem because if people don't have consequences for their actions, they won't do better. Making your insurance go up is a big consequence. For my teens who don't necessarily pay their car insurance, trust me, if you get one distracted driving violation and it causes your parents' insurance to go up 3 points, there's going to be a problem, right? And so we're so excited that the Tennessee law has gone into place, and hopefully we can continue to work with law enforcement to do something about it, okay? And so when we're talking about the law, we also have to talk about the bad habits that we personally have. What can we do as drivers, other than to completely just stop? Like, what techniques can we use to help us abide by the law that I just talked about? And so I know that cell phones are the problem, but they're also a part of the solution, right? And so back when Clifton passed in 2012, they didn't have apps and do not disturb features on phones where people could just instantly help themselves stop distracted driving. I distracted driving back then until it impacted me personally, but I want you to pay attention to this presentation and you don't have to go down that same road. So if you have an iPhone, it's so simple as clicking a button to put do not disturb while driving on your phone. A couple of years ago, Apple was sued, right? And so this was the result. And it simply sends a message immediately to the person you're driving to say, hey, I'm driving with do not disturb while driving turned on. I see your message when I get there, right? And so this lets the person know, hey, this person is driving, and hopefully if they care anything about you, they'll stop texting you and you can text them when you get to your location. I tell my students all the time, you can't answer text message that you don't know you have. So if your phone doesn't give you that ding, that notification that you have a text message, you won't want to answer it. And so this is the easiest way to help cut down on the percentage of time you have your phone in your hand while you're behind the wheel. Okay. If you don't have a cell phone, if you don't have an iPhone, and you have an Android, and it's an AT&T Android, just simply click on drive mode, right? It's the same thing as do not disturb. If you have an Android that's not an AT&T phone, you can download the app called Sidekick. It doesn't take off a lot of memory on your phone, and it operates in the same way. And so for whatever type of cell phone you have and whatever type of cell phone service, here are the ways in which you can help eliminate the distracted driving in your car. Okay, so I hope that you will take 2 seconds to download these apps or cut on these features, and this can be your first step into helping you eliminate distracted driving for once and for all. Okay?
When you know that someone is driving, immediately stop talking or texting them. It's simple. You don't want to be a part of any dangerous activity that's going on in the road. Just think if you're texting your friend or your mom or your brother or your dad, and all of a sudden they get in a car crash. What if the last text message they read was their text message to you? How would that make you feel? I know we can't always know what people are doing on the other side of the phone, but if you know, immediately stop texting or talking to them. You may save their life. This last video that we're going to show is a PSA that was shown all over Europe. Unfortunately, here in the U.S., it was censored, but I think it's worthy of you at home watching it and all of us here on our U.S. roads. This video shows a very graphic depiction of what happens from start to finish when texting and driving is involved. Take a look.
Hi, James. My mate Jules fancies you. Cass. It's not even funny now. Let me just get his number.
Bring an ambulance! Bring an ambulance! Stay still! I can't open the door. I've rung an ambulance.
You've got other people on the route to help, okay? Please swim straight to me for a second.
3 vehicles have been involved.
Right.
2 people in the vehicle there. I can't get any response out of them whatsoever.
The ones in the front or the ones in the front?
Mommy, Daddy, wake up! Mommy, Daddy, wake up!
Right, I just can't get any response whatsoever.
I want Mommy and Daddy to wake up.
Any pain anywhere, lovely? Yeah, is there any pain in your neck at all? You're nice and still for me. Alright, keep looking at me. Alright. Cassie? Cassie, can you hear me? What's your friend's name in the back? What is it? Jules, is it? No, she's still there for me. She's good. Yes.
Thank you so very much for attending our virtual training on distracted driving. I know that it would have been great for us to be in the Collierville courts and to do this together. I hope that many of you have questions that you would mind sending us, emailing us. You should see our email here at the bottom of the screen. And take the time to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We want to connect with you and we want to give you tips on ways you can be a safe driver. We also, for our teens here in Tennessee, have tons of scholarship and program opportunities that are free for all of you guys, and I want you to take advantage of them. I want you to remember everything we've said in this video, join us on social media, and help save someone else's life by not driving distracted. I promise it's just not worth it. Thank you.